So a publication called 4Gamer interviewed our Lord and Saviour recently, who we will for now refer to as Hidetaka Miyazaki. Did I pronounce that right? I'm too used to calling him Lord Saviour. And in that interview, they asked him this question. I got the impression that Elden Ring is widely played by players other than existing FromSoftware fans and fans of the Dark Souls series. This is evident in the sales and the buzz on social networking sites. To this, Miyazaki replied, I am very happy to hear that. However, I honestly don't know why it happened this time. To be honest, I don't really know. I think there are several reasons, such as the collaboration with Guru Martin and the improved sense of scale by adopting an open field, but I haven't been able to analyse them clearly yet. To close out that article, 4Gamer opens up that question to everyone on why Elden Ring is so popular. I think that the answer lies in something that has quickly been forgotten since the release of Elden Ring and the following rapid expansion of the fanbase. But when Miyazaki does his analysing, I really hope he doesn't decide to repeat what I feel was a very important element of the game's success. So I want to talk about that in today's video. If you haven't already subscribed, please click on the button now for more gaming and tech stuff. And at the end of the video, if you got a few minutes of pleasure from my ramblings, feel free to give the video a like. Now all of these things that Miyazaki suggested are spot on. They partnered with a big name, made it accessible to newcomers, added a lot of the excellent ingredients from their older titles to make an absolute masterpiece of a game, and it's so engaging and such a breath of fresh air that I honestly feel like I have post-Elden Ring depression now. I've been playing other games that have released since Elden Ring and jumping into my backlog, but nothing has gotten hold of me the way this game did, with me obsessing over builds, thinking up new strategies to take down bosses that were handing it to me, or wondering when I might next see best waifu Millicent in my travels. So yeah, all of that good stuff that we got from the game, the amazing reviews and accolades, that's all justified and contributed to the game's sales after release. Now to the point of my video, any successful company or service knows about the power of word of mouth, but this didn't just happen after the game was released. Elden Ring had already been amassing a huge following of fans, and the hype was snowballing month after month, year after year, and reaching an absolute frenzy by the time it was launched. Just look at the subscriber stats on Reddit for a start. Dark Souls is FromSoft's previously most well-known title. Sekiro was their last release before Elden Ring and received the Game of the Year award in 2019. In the time between Elden Ring's first announcement trailer and their gameplay trailer 2 years later, the Elden Ring subreddit was already well on their way to surpassing Sekiro's subscriber count. And just 3 months before Elden Ring was released, it had surpassed Sekiro's subscriber count and creeping up towards Dark Souls. Reddit is just one corner of the internet, but it's possible that these patterns are an indication of what was happening on other platforms too. If you're curious, this is what the numbers look like today. Chances are that Elden Ring might be your first Souls game, and it's likely you heard about the game from all of the 10 out of 10 reviews and accolades it received after release. But did you notice that most of the reviews, I do want to say all of the reviews, but I only know that all the ones I saw and read followed this pattern, but most of them had a very palpable sense of excitement. And this probably came from the relief of finally being able to play this game that, for a couple of years, felt like a myth because of the scraps of info we had, and the fact that it was being developed in the very uncertain times of the global pandemic. Does anyone remember that? Now where did this sense of anticipation even come from, you might ask? Well, it had been brewing for a long time already, and I don't just mean from 2019 when Elden Ring was first announced, but you have to understand that every Souls game that FromSoftware has released since Demon's Souls on the PS3 has been an absolute banger.
Thank you so much.
So when you have that kind of pedigree behind your product, along with almost complete radio silence for about 2.5 years, you basically drive your fanbase beyond the point of frenzy until they reach the place where Buddha was trying to get us all along so we can't feel the pain of this world anymore. Instead of Nirvana, we called it the Hollowing. Going hollow is a fitting analogy for how we felt between the very first announcement in June 2019 and the official gameplay reveal in June 2021. The reason why Elden Ring was quoted so often all over the place wasn't just because it's a brilliant line, but for a long time, it was one of the only bits of information we had. Shout out to this line too.
By someone or something.
To give you a frame of reference for this timeline, Horizon Forbidden West is a big AAA game released a few days before Elden Ring. Forbidden West was announced, had a marketing run, and released within a 20-month timeframe. In a 20-month timeframe for Elden Ring, all we got was one announcement trailer. I don't believe this feverish word-of-mouth hype was intentional by FromSoftware, and they definitely wouldn't have been pointing at us and laughing at our misery. It's just their way of doing things where they would give out the info and show gaming footage when they're happy to do so. But the byproduct of that slow drip or no drip of information and the kind of community they have built up over the years through their game creating ethos and lore building came together in a perfect storm of hype. By the way, the reason I keep using the word frenzy is because I actually think Hidetaka's questline is a fitting metaphor for Elden Ring fans. Think about it, we were neglected by our father figure and had some sort of rebirth into a life where we were given nothing to see but held complete faith in what was coming, fed scraps of hype that we found revolting and delicious, and yet it kept us going on our journey. Anyway, the vague storytelling methods of the Souls games opens up the stage for fans to speculate and hypothesize across their library of games, which has resulted in some amazing videos and write-ups over the years. This time round, FromSoftware was vague on game details and release information, so fans directed their clever, creative juices towards fake lore posts, imaginary characters, weapons, and some very inventive theories on when the next bit of information might be fed to us. And of course, this creative outpouring was mostly to ease the pain of not getting any information at all. You couldn't go a day without seeing a truly laugh out loud meme that captured your experience perfectly and served as a reminder that you weren't alone in your suffering. It was so entertaining, and you could find this stuff all over Reddit and Twitter. And this collective desperation for any information even made it prime time when Jeff Keighley referenced it at the Game Awards.
And for the most anticipated game voted on Twitter this year, the nominees are Elden Ring. There, I said it.
That era of the Elden Ring subreddit was just golden. It was the funniest, most entertaining subreddit I'd ever joined, and it's actually quite bittersweet that the thing we were yearning for the most would ultimately change the essence of what made the subreddit such a fun place to be. But you know, change is inevitable, yada yada. It's still an entertaining subreddit with all the dog jokes and waifu rankings of course, so I do recommend giving it a visit still. We live in an era of gaming where we understand that pre-ordering a game is a bad idea. The three most obvious examples I can give you right now are Cyberpunk, Fallout 76 and No Man's Sky. And you can probably think of 3 more on your own, and yes, I know some of those games have redeemed themselves now. But at the time of release, a lot of people who pre-ordered were disappointed. I've been burned a few times early on in my gaming life, so I very rarely do it now. And yet, every time someone asked me what I was looking forward to playing or what games I was hoping to see during Gamescom, a state of play, or whatever unrelated sporting event was on that weekend, I would always tell them Elden Ring. Since it was first announced in 2019, that's the answer I gave to everyone. And you know, I would playfully express how disappointed I was when I promised they would see some amazing footage during this and that show, and despite the lack of news and footage, I pre-ordered years in advance anyway. This was a strong indication to them that their friend had a lot of faith in Elden Ring. So just to summarise my point, I believe an important part of Elden Ring's success is due to the organic hype, which was a natural result of FromSoftware's decision to keep their information close to their chests and away from a fanbase that had a lot of trust in them. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing, but it's something that worked really well for building hype, and it's not something I'd like to go through again, even though it was so entertaining in hindsight. By not talking about their game, we the fanbase had to fill in the void for FromSoft. When Elden Ring was finally released, every one of those friends who had those conversations with me bought the game, and I wouldn't even consider any of them a fan of the Souls genre. Granted, I don't have that many friends, but still, they all bought it. That's just my own experience, and I'm willing to bet that plenty of people who went through the Great Hollowing era had a similar experience of sharing the hype to anyone who would listen, and helped to get Elden Ring into the minds of the gaming community at large. Anyway, what do you guys think? What will Miyazaki find when he does his analysing? Sound off in the comments and throw this video a like whilst you're there, and I'll see you in the next one.